everybody. This is show number two. Show number two. All right, Fred. Anytime you're ready, buddy.
All right. Welcome to show number 2, as Craig would just say, of Behind the Wheel.
You mind if I talk to you while you're
Yeah, that's it. Better. Let's bounce it off. Let's do it.
I might say something every now and
then.
No,
I do better with some interaction than just sitting here talking and listening to myself and blather on. So,
you look really good on camera, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
All right, back to business.
Nobody's ever said that. So, well, again, welcome. I'm Fred Fletcher from Fletcher's Garage. Last episode that we did was on what to look for in a technician, how to trust a technician, what to look for, and how to save some money, and how we can have a relationship between the auto repair shop and you without being adversarial. So they all don't have to be bad. So, but this one here, I want to talk a little bit about brakes, and it's a very important thing because, as I always say, stopping is more important than going. I mean, I could spend all day long getting your car running, but if you don't have any brakes, there's no reason to get your car running and moving. So, and we find a lot of that going on with especially nowadays. We're seeing a lot of brake failure, a lot of rusted brake lines because of the stuff that they've been using the last few years on the roads for de-icer, like rock salt and the brine solution. To me, the brine solution is like napalm. It sticks to things. So what happens is you drive around, you hit a couple puddles, things get wet. The brine solution is all wet, and it's kind of gummy. It picks up from your tires and gets caught up under the car, and then it just sits there and just eats away at all the metal objects that are underneath there. And what we're finding out mostly is the metal brake lines, some fuel lines, but mostly the metal brake lines because they're small and they're non-coated, and so they're eating out. And then sometimes when you step on the brake, and you'll find out really quickly, it happened to me as well. You step on the brake, it doesn't give you any warning. It just goes out. So that's another thing something you have to look forward to when you're getting your car checked out. And it's something that we keep an eye for on at Fletcher's Garage. We walk around, we say, look, there's a lot of rust on here. They're not leaking, but you never know when they're going to blow out. They're getting pretty bad. So, and there is no safety inspection requirements for that either, surprisingly, mostly because it's hard to judge. A lot of guys will ruin it and say, oh, hey, there's a spot of rust on there. We're going to fail your brake line. You fail for brake lines. No, it should be when it gets to a certain point where you know that it doesn't look safe. We got to have to use our judgment during an inspection. But I want to talk about, how brakes operate, what to look for. It's not just stepping on the pedal and your car slows down. There's a lot behind that. We'll start with the master cylinder. I didn't bring any with me to demonstrate, but you step on the brake pedal, the master cylinder activates, distributes the fluid to all 4 wheels. That's what happens, and that's how it gets activated. At each wheel, there's what's called nowadays is a caliper. So that I can use a little bit. Okay, well, this here is a brake rotor. It's a demonstrated brake rotor and a brake pad. And I'll explain some more about this stuff in a minute. But what happens is when you step on the brake pedal, the brake caliper acts like a fist and closes down on it and slows your car down. Now, that's got to be the correct pressure. And as I said, if you lose your brake line, you have no pressure. This doesn't close down, and you have no brakes. So that's what happens there. So and you also have a module that controls the flow of the brake fluid that goes through there. I also didn't bring one of those. Plus, it's very, very hard to explain all the inner workings of that brake module. But it's a very important hydraulic part of the vehicle. So once you get down to the brake pedal, where all the action is, not the brake pedal, but the brake at the wheels, at the calipers, the pads, the rotors. That's where all the action happens. So, that I can explain. I just told you about the caliper. But what we have here is brake rotor. This is a demonstrator. And again, once you step on the brake pad goes against the rotor, slows your car down. We got one on either side. Pad on either side. What here is I'll explain the rotors because I'm sitting here holding it. Now, there's different levels of different failures of a brake rotor. So one is stepping. Now that's when the brake rotor gets hot and you step on it, and the pad starts going back and forth on
I'm
this.
just going to move your award.
Okay.
See it.
Okay. Then we're gonna.
That's better. Thank you. Yeah.
So what happens is you step on a brake. If you have a warped brake rotor, because they get hot or whatever over time, this pad will actually jump back and forth, and that's where you'll get that sensation either in the steering wheel where the car's shaking, or in the brake pedal where it's kicking back on you. That's what happens there. That's why you got to have good brake rotors, and we recommend replacing the brake rotors on every brake job that we do. We're not just doing it to sell brake rotors. That's not what we're all about. But it is what happened over the course of the last few years is brake rotors. This is a minimum thickness on these. When they manufacture them now, they make them right on the legal specs and usable specs. So back in the day, we used to be able to cut them on a lathe and save you some money on the rotors. But nowadays you can't do it because if you cut them, and if somebody says they're going to cut them, they're lying to you. They're going to cut them down unless it's a big truck. They're going to make it to an unusable spec, an illegal spec for inspection. And it's an unsafe condition because what happens there is if you cut them down below, the heat doesn't dissipate, and then you start getting the warping, and then you start getting premature brake wear. So now that's the stepped and the uneven, pretty much the same thing. Scored. This is where you get the big grinds in the brake rotor. And that's where you get your noises and stuff from, like your squeals, your squeak, like your squeaking, and also sometimes to the point where they grind. Well, that's because usually somebody takes these brake pads down to where they go down to the metal backing here, and then it cuts into the brake rotor. So those are the three different conditions. This is a good finish on your brake rotor yourself. This is what you want. This is what we aim for with every job that we do, and when we get a new brake rotor, we put them on there and get that done. Now this is your brake pad. This is basically the lifeblood of your brake. So they have different thicknesses. When we check them out for inspection, this is a new brake. This would be a new brake pad. So they usually measure about 13, 14. 30 seconds of an inch when they're new. And what happens there is when you have new brakes, you have this lining here, which is made of different compounds. Whether you have ceramic or metal, used to be asbestos. The lawsuit's coming. So you get that on there and it dissipates the heat. So that also helps the brake rotor. So that's why you want to keep as good a brake pad on there as possible. This is minimum, not minimum. This is a medium. You got about a 7 or 8. Still a good pad, still usable. Don't freak out. That's why it's just in yellow. Just be cautious. It's something to keep in mind over the next year. Once they get down here into the red area, down in this is like a 430 seconds measurement. So this is where I start recommending that you get brake pads. Again, it's not imperative, but this is where we start recommending. If somebody's selling you brake pads at 4, they're not doing you any justice. Below that, say half of this, which is pretty thin, is 230 seconds. That is the state of Pennsylvania's legal thickness. So 230 seconds isn't much brake pad. And also what happens there, as you lose the lining, you're losing the insulation on there, and you're going down to the metal, towards the metal. So now you got hot metal from the brake rotor, and then hot metal from the brake backing of the pad, and nothing to insulate it. You're going to end up with really fit. These get hot. The pads start to break down. The compound breaks down. These start to warp. And then what happens is then they start to get hot. And a lot of times the fluid will boil. Well, you get there, the fluid will get hot. And then you'll have a soft brake pedal because they're not actually activating the calipers the way they should. Now, also, going back to fluid, we see a lot of places push brake fluid flushes. And that's not a bad thing to do, but there is a mileage thing on there. I see, people come in and say, my dealership says I should have my brake fluid flushed at 20,000 miles. No, you don't need that now at 20,000 miles. So, I'm going to say probably between 80 and 100,000 miles is when you should have your brake fluid flushed. And then there too, we check the condition before we go ahead and just change it. Because unless it's totally black from all the sediment and stuff that goes through the systems, there's no reason to change it. It's still got good viscosity. It's still got usable life left in it. But it's not hurting anything in the hydraulic systems. So once they get black and stuff and over, sometimes you'll get them where they bind up inside the calipers or in the master cylinder, but that's drastic. We don't see that much anymore. We used to see it with the old mineral spirits, but not so much now with what's called .3 or .4 synthetics. DOT meaning Department of Transportation. That's their standards. So basically that's all the brake things. Some of the older ones we had brake shoes, which a drum. Some of the new, front wheels used to have them too with the drums in the front. Those were horrible. They just had no braking power. The older cars. I remember my '67 Camaro had one, 4-wheel drum brakes, and it did not want to stop. I mean, eventually, but the effort that you had to do was crazy. We're also seeing a lot of electronic and not vacuum power boosters are kind of going by the wayside. We're seeing a lot of electronic and fluid based brake boosters, which is what makes the brake effort easier. So a lot of times when you didn't have, back in the older days when we didn't have any boosters at all, you could step on a brake and never know where you're going to end up. So I remember those days too. So, but then they had the vacuum boosters, which were good, not great, but that's what they used mostly for the last, 40 years or so. Again, we're starting to see a lot of electronic and a lot of electronic and fluid-based boosters, which actually are very good. The problem with those is they're very, very expensive. An electronic brake booster, we'll say an Infinity, could be anywhere around $1,000 to $1,200, where an old vacuum brake booster might have been a couple $100. So we're seeing a lot of different, changes over the years with brakes, and some for the better, some not so much. But just always check in with us over at Fletcher's Garage. You can check on my website, Fletcher's Garage, PA.
What's your address down there?
And my address over there is 480 Hood Boulevard, Fairless Hills, PA, 19030. We're right on the corner of Hood and South Olds Boulevards. And you can't miss us. There's a whole lot of cars out there and also a whole lot of flamingos. So how many people say, there's my auto mechanic, and there's a bunch of flamingos out front. So just some of the things that what makes us different than other shops is we do pay attention to the little things like this. Like inside the brake calipers, there's air gaps in there that sometimes have to be lubed up because sometimes you get the rust in there and the calipers won't retract the way they should, and this brake pad will drag on the rotor because it doesn't fully. And there too, premature wear, uneven stopping, sometimes even brake failure. So when we do a brake job, we take everything apart, clean it up. We don't just take them apart, put them back together. You take them up, you clean all the stuff off, you measure the air gaps on the calipers, and it does make a difference. It does make a difference who does your brakes. There's a lot of DIYers out there that do their own brakes, and we end up having to fix it afterward. So, but hey, if they can do it, that's fine. But a lot of them end up with making sometimes a bigger issue than what they had if they just brought it into us. Some of the other things that makes us different, and is a lot of the recognition we've been getting lately. I like that. The community has put us out as best of Fairless Hills. I didn't even know that they were doing that, and it's very nice to know that we won, and it was all thanks to the community and our customers and appreciating the work that we do over there. And again, I only have 2 of my awards here from Carfax, but we do have 3. They didn't have the first year; they didn't have a trophy, so this is as good as an Oscar. So, but 3 years ago, and we've been Carfax top award, and there's only a few of them in the country, so that's pretty prestigious and exclusive. So we're in rare air there. We're AAA America, one of the top shops in AAA approved auto repair, and being as big as AAA is, it's international, and being recognized as one of the top shops is another great feather in our cap and a great great response to what my guys are doing over there. They do a really good job, and we all have the kind of same mindset. I mean, I'm sure over the course of these few podcasts that we do, you'll get to meet the guys, and it's an experience. So. It's an experience to say the least. It's funny because we joke around. It's all day long. They're joking and they're bickering and they're doing all kinds of stuff. Some stuff I can't repeat here. I probably could, but I won't.
Right.
But when it comes down to the work, my guys are laser focused on the job at hand, and even though it doesn't seem like it, they are, and they have an eye for quality and. They will not skimp you or whatever. You will get an A1 job. I'm the master tech of the ASC certified master tech of the group, but I put my guys up there with me or sometimes even better than me. So they just need to go get the tests. To see, we've been best of Bucks and the Bucks happening for 3 years. We've been runner up, but I also made the best of Bucks Hall of Fame. Bucks County Hall of Fame for my business and my business practices. So, it does sound like I'm bragging, and a lot of people tell me, well, it's not bragging if you walk the walk, but we do walk the walk. So that I'll brag about my guys. I don't like really bragging about myself, but they are things that makes us different, and makes me happy to get up in the morning and go to work and put people, in their cars as fast as possible. And over the next few, we're going to talk about tires. I'll bring a tire guest in. We'll explain how the tires and what to look for in a tire. There's just all kinds of systems I can go through. Maintenance on their vehicles for getting them ready for winter, because winter is probably the most crucial month for crucial season for the wear and tear on your car. Summer's not right there behind it, but the wintertime, you got all kinds of issues going on, whether it's tires, brakes, alignments, making sure your engine's okay.
Making sure your heat is okay.
Making sure your heat is okay.
I need to come in for that right now.
Okay.
I'll see you Monday.
Yes, thank you, Craig. So, heat is important right now. We're seeing also a lot. I just got a phone call just before I came on the air here. And we've seen a lot of that, too, where it's like people are using their defrosters now. And the leaves and stuff are falling from the trees. And they're falling down and getting in the cowling and blocking up the drain holes. So the insides of their cars are filling up with water. So, that's another thing that we look out for. Every time we do an oil change, we make sure, we ask, are you having a problem with this? Because we know this is the time of year that this happens. So we want to make sure we're proactive on it. And so I look forward to keep bringing you these podcasts. And, as we go along, I have some guests and a little more joking around and a little less information, I guess. I don't know. Because Craig knows that we're serious about our job. We're not serious about anything else.
No way.
So, well, I hope everybody enjoys these things, and we'll keep them going as long as we can. I enjoy doing it. So, and I enjoy being here with Craig. So, all right. Well, everybody have a great next time we get together, whatever it is, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, month, whatever. Just keep an eye out for us. And we'll be on YouTube, Craig, and my Facebook.
We'll be somewhere for everyone to see.
Okay, yeah, and also, we'll be getting together for our Hot Rod Santa on December 2nd. So I want to put that out there. That's our car show where we have, we clean out my lot and put all hot rods and vintage cars, and we videotape all that too as well. So we'll make a thing out of that. We have a live radio broadcast with WBCB 1490 AM. That's our Bucks County radio station, local Bucks County radio station. We have Hot Rod Santa will be out there, so you can get pictures with Santa on any hot rod that you wish. Mine will be out there. We can take you for rides, and whoever wants to, you can go for a ride with me and mine. And we have fire trucks from the local firehouse down the street. The kids can come up and hop on the fire trucks and hang with Santa on there. And a lot of refreshments. And bring a new unwrapped toy because it's our Toys for Tots drive. And this year I want to dedicate it to my good friend that used to bring a whole lot of toys for the last few years, John Lesky. We lost John this year to cancer. But his spirit goes on with us over at Hot Rod Santa. And He himself used to bring over 1,000 toys a year, and I can't even tell you how much money he collected and then dropped off for the program. So he's got big shoes to fill. He left us big shoes to fill, and we'll miss him immensely this year. And so everybody come out and bring it out in John's honor and bring a toy. We want to keep the numbers up. We've made over 6,000 kids' Christmases over the last 3 years. And their Toys for Tots are always blown away with the response at our community, and it comes out to Fletcher's Garage and donates the way they do. So let's keep it going. That's on December 2nd at my place at Fletcher's Garage, 480 Hood Boulevard, Fairless Hills, PA. You can give me a call at 215-295-4931. You can go on our Fletcher's Garage Facebook page. It's at Fletcher's Garage. Or Fred Fletcher. That's where I do most of my action, is on my Fred Fletcher personal page, which is basically still a business page for me. And or FletchersGaragePA.com. That's my website. And or call 215-295-4931. Either I can fill you in on anything going on, or Kelly can get you scheduled for anything that you want to get checked, brakes, tires, whatever. So everybody enjoy your time. Until next time. Thank you.